I want to ask you about Bubba.
Okay.
Because it feels like he missed an opportunity here coming off a pretty good Texas race where he could have won and locked himself in. Today he finishes 25th, gets no stage points, and he went from being like somewhere around the 13th, 14th position to mid-20s on the final run. Afterward, he was very hard on himself. He said, I cost myself and Tyre Reddick a lot of positions. I just didn't make the right moves. So kind of surprising because this is the guy who's won at Talladega, and super speedways are kind of his thing, both him and the team, but didn't seem to have it today.
Yes. And that is, they didn't have it today for whatever reason. They never really got in position like Bubba has in the past, where he could, we've seen him at Daytona go to the front and take control of a race. We've seen him at Talladega go to the front, take control of a race. But they never got themselves in position to take control of the inside line, the outside line, the high line. They just never could drag a line up there. And this is, and I've thought about this because, I don't think I had Bubba. I may have had him out in the first round. And listen, I didn't get any of them right in the first round, so it doesn't make any difference. So, but I think in the first round, he exceeded all expectations. He did some solid stuff. And then as we started this round and you roll into, we rolled into Bristol, he exceeded my expectations for sure. I thought he drove the race that Bubba Wallace needed to drive to move to the next round. And then we go to Texas and I'm thinking, man, all he's got to do, man, he knocks about half that deficit out here. And then he goes to Talladega and knocks the other half out. All he's got to do is go into the Roval and maintain. And that would have been a good place for him to be, I felt like. So I think what has come for me is this. He exceeded all my expectations in the first 4 races of the playoffs. And in the 5th race of the playoffs, he did not meet my expectations. And that's where he's at right now. Because if you're going to exceed expectations, you have to be in a position, I believe, to at least maintain. And everybody expects you to run good at Talladega, then go to Talladega and run good. Everybody expects you to run good at Daytona or at Atlanta, whatever that racetrack, or Homestead, because he's been killer on the mile and a halves. I think he's only finished outside the top 5 one time on all the mile and a halves, and we've got Vegas and Homestead coming up. So those races are in Bubba's wheelhouse. But the problem is, by not meeting the expectations today, he has put himself in a position to not advance to a round where he should be, which is just matches up for him with Vegas and Homestead and what his year has been so far. So for me, and I don't know why. I don't know why, because he was hard on himself. And some days you just have those days, man. Some days you just have, again, just like I said, you get in the left lane and the right lane starts moving. You get in the right lane, the left lane starts moving. Some days you just have those days. But, he took a lot of it on himself. But at the same time, I didn't feel like, I have to be honest, I didn't feel like the 2311 Toyotas were where they have been in the past, the last couple of Speedway races. I didn't think they were as dominant of cars as what they had been before. Even though they qualified well, I didn't think they were as dominant of cars as what they had been before.
Yeah, kind of like the RFK Fords as well today. Like they didn't seem to control it as much. And much like the Keselowski crash, it felt like Bubba was saying, like, I was kind of stuck where I was with however many laps to go for that final restart. I guess there was 1:25 to go and one like 13 to go. And he just felt like he had to take chances. And it just, like you said, just maybe wasn't his day. I think one cool part was that Bubba did have Michael Jordan on his pit box today. So immediately after he did the interview with Kim, MJ came over and consoled him. And you could tell he was just telling him, like, hey, here's the greatest player of all time, who has famously talked about, like, I've missed a lot more game-winning shots than I've made. Yeah. And I think Dale Jarrett, like DJ sort of made that point, was that that's probably the advice he's getting right now, which is probably pretty good advice after having a not so good race at Talladega, to have the best NBA player of all time, like, come over and say, look, man, you're going to get another shot at it.
Yeah. Yeah. So you're telling me that Michael Jordan is his sports psychologist. Is what you're telling me right now. Then, um, so and it is
That's
good.
pretty much what I'm
Listen,
telling you.
yeah, no, but it is. Listen, I don't care whether it's Michael Jordan. I don't, and I don't mean this in a bad way. I've seen Rick Hendrick do the same thing. Walk up to Chase Elliott and wrap his arm around him. Walk up to Kyle Larson and wrap his arm. Walk up to Jeff Gordon and wrap his arm around him and just start talking. When that boss man, when that guy is your friend, and he's more than a boss, when he reaches out and touches and talks and consoles and tells you, "I'm still right here with you, man. I'm still right here behind you," that solves everything, and that cleans up everything. So no matter what Bubba says about himself, knowing that Michael Jordan or Denny Hamlin or Rick Hendrick or Felix Sabatis or whoever he may drive for is there with his back means everything in the world of Bubba Wallace. And again, I take Michael Jordan out of that equation because I've seen other owners do the same thing when a driver has had a day that he doesn't feel like is his best day. But it's got to be gratifying to Bubba to be in that position, to be able to get out of a car and not have to go in the back door of the truck and kind of slide out without your owner seeing you because you feel like you drove a terrible race or you did something that he wouldn't be proud of. To have that owner come up to you and say that, that's a huge boost, and Bubba should take that as a huge positive.